So I'm in Amarillo, Texas, and I'm not sure. My dad said I told my dad I was coming to Amarillo, and he said Amarillo, and I was like, isn't it the double L's? Isn't that a Y sound? And he disagreed with me. And so I called it Amarillo, but for some reason I think it's Amarillo. If somebody knows, let me know. But the crime here is 55% higher than the Texas average. So as far as Texas goes, this city is much worse than the other cities here in Texas. And the violent crime here overall on a national level is 106% worse than the national average, which by my estimate makes it pretty much regular city bad. But one of the reasons I wanted to cover this is their year-over-year crime is increasing by 3%, which may not sound like a lot, but 3% year after year after year after year, eventually that's going to add up. And cities that, yeah, there's a lot of garbage on this city. There's a ton of garbage on the edge of the road there. There's litter all over the edge right there. If you have a 3% crime increase this year, next year it's 4 or 5%, before you know it, you know, your crime is right up there with the worst of them if they don't get on top of things. The population here is 202,000, and it's been rising since the 1970s. It's 52% white, 34% Hispanic, and 7% black, and 3% Asian. So they have a fairly diverse population here. And the average age is 34, so it's a little on the young side as far as the U.S. average, I think, is 38. So it's a little on the young side. And the average earnings around $39,000, which is, again, a little on the low side. The poverty rate here is 16%. And the marriage rate is 50%, that's a pretty good as far as marriage rates go, 50%. I think the national average is pretty close to 50%. Let's go up one of these roads. And just see what the houses look like here. Well, the houses don't look too bad. They're really small, but they don't look too bad at all. The one thing I've noticed since I've been here, I've been in Texas for a couple days now, the one thing I've noticed is the people make complete stops at the stop signs, which if you live basically anywhere else but here, that's almost kind of annoying, because if you're behind like a string of people, they're like literally, I mean, I'm doing it now here because I figure they must give people tickets, must be why people do it. But if you come from somewhere where everybody does kind of I lived in California for a while, and they would call it California stops, where you just kind of stop and kind of roll through. If you're used to places like that, it's kind of annoying at first, but now I kind of like it that people actually stop at the stop signs. Yeah, the houses don't look too bad. I mean, they're a little, some of them are a little on the run down side, but they're not too bad at all. What is that? Well, this one here leaves something to be desired. That one leaves something to be desired, that house. Yeah, oh my gosh, all the garbage in that area. What's this? This is some kind of graffiti wall. Yeah, that's a lot of graffiti there too. On that wall right there. That's a lot of graffiti. Wow. I don't know if I'm actually getting that with the camera or not, but that's a lot of graffiti right there. If I came in and just saw that, and that was the first thing I saw, I would think this city, the crime here is way worse than what they're saying. But 66% of the people that live here were born here, and it's saying that 8% are non-citizens, which that's a number that I would probably question, that it's only that amount. Because if 8% are admitting to it, you got another, 10% that aren't. And this close to the border, you would just, I guess you would just assume there's a lot more. But maybe it's only 8%. In 2022, there were 23 murders here, giving them a murder rate of 11.4, which again is pretty close. I consider a murder rate around 10 to be like regular city bad. Yeah, this place is a lot of stuff. I was driving around just like, you wouldn't even call them, I guess you'd call them suburbs of Amarillo. I guess you'd call them suburbs, and there a lot of the cities, there are a lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of them in these really small towns. And this looks like it's not really any different here. And prior to 2020, the murders ranged from 10 to 15. And the murder rate was between like 5 and 8. So 2020, like it did with a lot of cities, almost doubled the murders that they had. Well, it did double it in some cases. The murders that they had here. Okay, sorry about that. The GoPro cut out, as it does from time to time for some reason. So the assault rate last year, or in 2022, was 554.6. And Chicago is at 550. So their assaults here are on par with Chicago, which would make me think that it's worse than regular city bad here. Even though the numbers all link it with regular city bad, that would make me think it's higher. Their assault rates since basically 2007 have been in that 400 to 600 range. So that hasn't changed. 2020 didn't change that. The assaults have been fairly high for that whole time. And your odds of becoming a victim of any crime here is 1 in 24. I think this whole building in front of us on the left, or I'm sorry, on the right, that looks like that's abandoned. That whole big tall building. So your odds of becoming a victim are 1 in 24, which is pretty typical for, pretty much any city of any size, I should say. That's fairly typical. But the cost of living here is 9% lower than the Texas average. And so overall, it's like 17% lower than the US average. So it's really cheap to live here. Housing is 30% lower than the national average. So you probably could find houses, in around that $100,000 range-ish. I didn't look to see what the houses sell for, but if it's 30% lower than the national average, you're probably in around that. And we're in downtown now. Excuse me. We're in downtown now. It's not like a huge, doesn't appear to be a huge downtown. I mean, the population is 202,000. It's not huge by any means. But it showed that the sales tax here was 22% higher than the U.S. average. And I don't know a whole lot about Texas and you know, as far as the way they tax things, but I would have, if someone would have told me that ahead of time, or would have asked me to guess, I would have thought it would be better than the national average. I wouldn't think it would be higher than the national average, not even for a second. I wouldn't think it would be higher. Yeah, they have a few tall buildings, but for the most part, it's a low downtown. I mean, the building right in front of us, to the right and left, are pretty tall, but the rest of the buildings are relatively, you know, 3 or 4 stories. They're not huge, tall buildings. And the schools here, they rate about the same as the national average, which, if you know the test scores for America in general, are at about 48% of the students graduating being proficient at reading and math. So less than half, and it's about the same here. Yep, that building was kind of messed up too. Doesn't look too bad, but there's nothing overly like nice looking about the city either. 78% of the people that live here graduated high school. 78%. And in doing these, I've found that generally it's in the 80s at most places, even in cities that aren't necessarily all that good. So that might be saying that there's, keep going up this. Oh, yeah, this area right here, there's a bunch of people hanging out there. If I'd have kept going straight, there's a bunch of people just hanging out. Look like they live on the street there. This building in front of us is boarded up. On this block, there has gates all around it. Yeah, so this is all boarded up here. Let's just go up. That stuff looks, no, maybe not boarded up. There's stuff on the side. People are sleeping on the street here. I saw a whole bunch of people standing. You can see all the people standing there. There was stuff on the other side of that street as well. Garbage piled. This is a weird city because, I mean, this is literally a block from downtown and it looks like this. Yep, this looks like more homeless people in front of us. The lady pushing whatever she's pushing there. This is literally just outside of downtown, all this. Probably within like 4 or 5 blocks. Holy cow. Wow. Look at all that. There's people living in there. People are living in that. This building right in front of us. People are living in all this stuff. I suppose they're coming in. Our visitors. Here's another one. No trespassing, that one says. No trespassing. Okay, I will abide by that. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, if I'm driving through here and I didn't know the stats, I don't know what's wrong with this GoPro today. If I didn't know the stats and I drove this same drive that I just randomly did, there's a 0 chance I would say the crime here is at regular city levels. There's a 0 chance. Because this is bad. This is run down. And I think some of it is that, I mean, our visitors that are coming in, I mean, that whole area, you could tell, yeah, this stuff over here too, all boarded up, run down. And you could see, look at all that we just went through, and you can see the buildings right there. About 2 blocks, you can see that green light. Just a couple blocks, that's downtown. There's a 0 chance I would think that this, I'm even questioning that this is a regular city bad crime place. That place is all boarded up. Now again, I don't know a whole lot about Texas, and maybe Texas just kind of looks like this, but that's really bad to be just right on the edge of downtown like that. And we're back right where we just were. Let's see what the other side of town looks like. That was really bad. Historic Route 66. That must be what this is. Okay, this part looks kind of cute. It lasts for about a block. But the buildings look a little nicer. Civic Center. Amarillo Center. stuff on this side of town too. Doesn't look like any of that is being used, at least not as a business. The roads aren't good, but they're better actually than most cities are. They're not good, but they're all cracked, but for the most part they're pretty level, where you're not going through big potholes and stuff like that like you are in a lot of places. And literally when I was driving through, like I said, the suburbs of here, I don't know if they're called suburbs, but the just small towns just outside of here, and there was a couple spots where there were big chunks of snow in the street, like they blew off the top of a semi truck or something, and I'm like, do they get snow way down here? But it's cold, so they must. It's like 32 degrees or something right now, so they must get snow here. Yeah, there's a lot of garbage in that field right there. A lot of garbage in that field. There's a lot of garbage everywhere. All garbage. It's the simplest thing, in my opinion. It makes the city look so much nicer. It's to just, you know, even if you're using people that should be in jail, or people that are getting out, that are on probation, or that have community hours or something, to have them go out and clean up the streets. Because I had heard, and I said this in one of my videos once before, that some guy did this study on cities and something with all the litter and stuff like that. And he had come to the conclusion that areas that have a lot of litter on the ground have higher crime, because criminals feel safer in those kind of environments. They feel safer. They feel like nobody's going to call the police on them. If they don't care about all the garbage everywhere, they're not going to call the police on them. And they just feel safer in those kind of places. Yeah, this area, again, downtown is literally right there. We are barely outside of downtown. It doesn't feel dangerous, but I think it's probably because it's so cold. I mean, you're seeing people out, like we passed that group of homeless people. Stray dog running around. Oh yeah, I guess there's homeless people walking up the street. Stray dog running on the street. Hey puppy, hey puppy. Yeah. I would pick you up if I was closer to home and didn't have to put you on a plane. Yeah, garbage everywhere. Just everywhere there's garbage. Everywhere. This is literally just blocks outside of downtown. This is what it looks like. There is garbage everywhere. Literally everywhere. Garbage in all these fields. Wow. Let's go up this way. The houses just look all so run down. Not necessarily bad, but just run down. And the yards aren't taken care of. It's December. And I don't know if all this shrub brush is like normal this time of year, or if those are actual like plants or something. Oh yeah, see all these vacant lots they have are just covered in just garbage. But these are things that are so easy to fix. It would be so easy to fix that. You just have somebody clean it up and it would make everything, oh my gosh, what is these places right here? Right across the street from the Family Dollar. Look at all this. Looks like the whole place burnt down. All these places, or they just piled them in there. All of those, I don't know if those were a bunch of houses. They look like almost sheds, but it looks like it all burnt down. And then they just put a fence up around it. Wow. More graffiti. Aside from that graffiti we saw right at the beginning, I think this is the first graffiti I've seen since that. That whole building, I mean, everywhere you look. Two more puppies. People, they don't even have they must not have dog leash laws, because look at the little puppy here. Hey puppy. I don't even know what that is. Chihuahua mix. All the dogs are off leash and just kind of running loose, which I like dogs, and I think that they should be secured in your yard. I think this is the same road that we went up. Let's go up a different road. Yeah, this city's really bad. There is no way driving through here that I would say this is a regular city bad city. There's a zero chance. I'm not going up that road. There's a zero chance that I would say that in seeing the city. Look at all these birds that are eating all the garbage on the side of the street. Oh my God, that yard is filled with them. There's just garbage everywhere. There's just garbage everywhere. Does this go through? Yeah, this one might. Holy cow, this building straight in front of us looks like it's falling apart too. There is a zero chance that this is a regular city bad level of crime. Statistically, that's what they're telling us it is. Statistically. But there is a zero chance. I've driven through a lot of cities, and this is one of the most rundown ones I've seen as far as being right in town like this. What was it? Highland Park, Michigan was easily the worst city I'd ever been through at the time I went through there. This one's not as bad as that. That city's a lot smaller. This one's not as bad as that, but it's a close second. Yeah, this is really bad. Yeah, the GoPro cut out again. But we're back to just, I mean, all this place is, again, we're just on the edge of downtown. And all these houses and the garbage everywhere. I'm gonna have to look into this city more and do a more in-depth, do one of those how safe is my city videos on Amarillo. Is it Amarillo or Amarillo? I don't know. Somebody's got to put it in the comments which it is, because I would say Amarillo, or my dad says Amarillo, and I would say Amarillo, and everyone else I asked said Amarillo, but I don't know. But I got to do a more in-depth thing on this city, because there's no way that the crime is as low as it is. Although their assault rate is pretty high. Their assault rate is the same as Chicago. So their assault rate is bad. Their murders are at just regular city levels. I don't really tend to look at what the property crime is, which I should have, but I don't know if maybe that's high and that's why it looks like this. Yeah, the buildings are just, I mean, these houses are just like, they haven't been run down for just a year or two. They've been run down for like 30 years. Oh, that whole building was destroyed. It doesn't help that it's cloudy. It makes it look even dingier here than it is. But it's really, see, oh my gosh, look at, oh, did we drive through that or past that already? Yeah, we passed that already once. We just went past that. That's what happens when you just kind of randomly drive, but the city has definitely seen better days, that's for sure. Definitely seen better days. I did not expect to spend this much time driving through here. I'm just literally amazed at what this city looks like. And I know there's no way I am capturing just how dirty this city is on this camera. And just the mass amounts everywhere that there is a vacant area, it's just piled with garbage. All of it. And there's a zero chance I'm capturing this. There's a little tent city right under that overpass over there. Yeah, I'm not going to drive by it. Yeah, I've been on pretty much the outskirts of every side of the downtown. And this is the east side. And this side looks the best, although it's not really all that much better. This is kind of more industrial though. But there's a, right here, they're using that to dump their garbage, that vacant lot. We'll just dump our garbage in there. And their waterway is right next to it, so that's good. All of this, look at all this, is just people dumping their garbage. Oh, but that lot's for sale. You can buy that lot. I'm sure a lot of people would love to buy that. Oh, let's go this way. Now this area is just all industrial, so it just looks, well, let's go up a little further. Let's go up one more, see what it's like back in here. Normally I do these drives through these cities, and I drive and I see a little bit and I'm like, that's enough. But for whatever reason, there's a part of me that just wants to keep seeing more of this city, mainly because I don't believe that the crime is what it is. I don't believe it's as safe as it is. By looking at it, there's way too many buildings like this that look like I don't know what they were once used for. The houses all look like that. Not all of them, but a good majority of them did. The buildings all just look like they're abandoned. All these are, that's all fenced off, so you know that's abandoned. This looks like an old school or something. That looks abandoned, although the gates are open, so people probably go in there. Maybe that's not it looks abandoned. It might not be though. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into and do a deeper dive into this city. When I go to these cities, I just write down some basic statistics on the city, just so I can kind of give a good overview. Yeah, all that stuff on the right, I missed that with the camera, but all that stuff was closed down. You know, you give a little overview. Yeah, see, look, this building, right, this pink building here. That's what they all look like. That whole area, look at all that is fenced in. That looks like some kind of resort with a whole bunch of little places in it or something at one time. But normally I just write down like the basic statistics on the city, and I drive through, and for the most part you're like, yeah, I can see that, I can see that. But this one, there's a 0 chance that the statistics that they provide for this city are correct. I might have to talk to somebody about the city stats, and you know, because like if you talk to somebody, if you go to Chicago and you talk to somebody in Chicago about the homicides, they'll tell you, like, talk to somebody that like drives a cab or something that, you know, sees the city, you know, even a garbage man or anybody that like sees the city, a cop. Well, a cop wouldn't tell you, but they'll tell you that the number of homicides that the city reports, that it's way higher. Like for every one they report, there's 3 or 4 they're not reporting, is what those people will tell you. And I think that's what's happening here in Amarillo, because there's no way that this is even correct. But all right, well, I'm going to cut this video short here, and that was probably a longer drive than I normally do, but you got to see this city and hear about it, and it's what you saw, it's like 10 times worse when you see it in real life, I'm sure, because it's really bad. It's really bad, and I'm gonna do a deep dive on it and do another video on this city, because there's no way that any of this information as far as the crime goes is even remotely correct with the way this city looks. There's almost a 0 chance. All right, well, thanks for watching. I'm going to let this play out for a minute, and then it'll be cut.